All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get down to business. What we're looking at today is SCP-638, Special Containment Procedures. All members of SCP-638 are deceased, and their remains have been disposed of in accordance with standard protocol. Description: SCP-638 was the Pulaski Crew, an organized crime squad active in the 1910s as part of the larger Chicago Spirit. While Chicago Spirit boss Richard D. Chappell was not a member, he organized the group and led their only major heist in 1914. The Pulaski Crew was comprised of 5 anomalous individuals designated SCP-638A through E. SCP-638A is Louis Bagel Bernstein, 31 years old, Jewish American, pyromancer. SCP-638B, Mads Moody, 38 years old, American, anomalous strength. SCP-638C, Giuseppe Permento Fiori, 34, Italian-American, anonymously persuasive. SCP-638D and E, Ah Num and Ah Tom, 41 years old, Chinese, twin thaumaturges. SCP-638, led by Chappell, used their anomalous abilities to perpetrate the 1914 heist of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. Over the course of 19 minutes, SCP-638 was able to eliminate security, take hostages, and gain access to the vault, which contained 2,000 short tons of gold bullion as part of a classified government handoff. The Chicago Police Department and Embedded Foundation agents stormed the facility and detained SCP-638, finding Richard Chappell and all the gold conspicuously absent. Embedded Agent Chad Pick began performing preliminary interviews on the members of SCP-638 to attempt to ascertain the location of the bullion and the whereabouts of Richard D. Chappell. I'm going to go ahead and read you the transcripts of the interviews with the members, starting with Addendum 638-1. The interviewer is Agent Chad Pick. Subject, SCP-638-A. Begin log. SCP-638-A. Detective, what can I do for you? Agent Pick. I think we both know the answer to that question. SCP-638-A. Refresh my memory. Pick. I want to know where the money is, and I want to know where the man is. I want it now. SCP-638-A. You think I know where Mr. Chappell is? And even if I did, give me one good reason why I'd tell you. Pick. I know you know where he is. And I've got 30 reasons that a federal judge is more than happy to give you. SCP-638-A. You think that scares me? I'm not afraid of a little time behind bars, detective, but at least in jail I'll be alive. Have you ever met Mr. Chappell, detective? Pick. Pauses. No, I can't say that I have. SCP-638-A. Consider yourself lucky. Usually in this business, the closer you work with someone, the less you fear them. For Mr. Chappell, the opposite is true. I worked with him on one of the biggest robberies ever planned, and I'm just as scared of him as everyone else. Pick. Oh, is that right? SCP-638-A. No, more. I've seen what he does to snitches. I'll take some time over that any day. But of course, this is all moot. Pick. And why is that? SCP-638-A. Because, detective, I don't know where he is. And frankly, the less I talk about him, the better. Pick. Fine, okay, but I know you know where the gold is. SCP-638-A. Another folly, detective. I haven't killed anyone, which means I'm free of capital punishment, and I'm still largely in the prime of my life, assuming I know where it is. Why shouldn't I just serve my time and then come back for it as a free man? Pick. And what makes you think you're the only one with that idea? SCP-638-A audibly pauses. What? Pick. You're smart, but it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. The other 4 are planning the exact same thing. And who's to say they won't get out early for good behavior? SCP-638-A stammers and fails to reply. Pick. Even if they get released a week before you, it'll be enough. By the time you're walking out of those gates, they'll be halfway across the country with enough money to buy everything in their way. So you can either let the idiots have it, or tell me and knock a few years off that sentence. Come out of Sing Sing a little earlier. There is silence. SCP-638-A is sweating profusely. SCP-638-A. I don't know where it is, but I know what happened to it. Pick. What? SCP-638-A. The twins. I was the can opener, they called me. Usually that means lockpick, but you don't exactly lockpick the Federal Reserve. I burned down the vault door itself. As soon as the police arrived, they ran into the vault and left the three of us standing in the lobby. They went in and did some of their foreign hocus pocus, and by the time we were shooting at the buttons, it was all gone. I don't know where it is, which means neither do Fiore or Moody, but the twins do. Pick. Good to know. SCP-638-A. I don't understand. He had a plan. He always has a plan. Pick. Who? SCP-638-A. Mr. Chappell. He said he had it all planned out, but everything went to shit as soon as the tellers dropped the dime. He wouldn't let something this risky flop. He's planning something. Pick. Yeah? SCP-638-A. With Moody, no doubt. Palooka was worshiping the ground he walked on. He'd take a slug for the boss. They're up to something, I know it. End log. What do you want? What is this? Okay, great. Can we not interrupt the briefing next time? What the hell is this? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I was just handed a fucking piece of paper here. It says Carol number 332, the Snitch Dungeons. This is an RAISA file, group of interest, defunct, GOI-001 Chicago Spirit, file created 1931, file last revised by GOI November 1932, file recovered July 1933. Next time, can we have all the materials ready when I brief these mutton heads? All right, thanks. Anyway, speaking about the snitching, this is a... Let's see, what is this? The Snitch Dungeons. There's a file photo in here, too, of a very nondescript looking building. It says, where we keep the snitches. Local cops are under our thumb, so we shouldn't have any problems. Where it is, where this building is, Manhattan 17th Street. It used to be a hospital, and we bought it after the Great War in case we needed it for the New York operations. 4 stories high, just next to a boarding house and a bank. Can't miss it. Whatever you do, don't open the doors to the bedrooms. And then, let's see, under that it says, who knows about it? This one's a trade secret. And none of our other competitors or those Foundation guys have the scoop on it as far as we know. I know a lot of people are on edge because of the secret spirit got shut down, but we don't make the same mistake twice. All of the guys we have working security and watching the snitches are loyal to Chappell and would take a bullet for him. As for who we can tell about it, we need what we call a rumor weapon. Don't go around telling everyone we got a place for all the people who turn on us. But if you're at one of our bars and you hear people talking about what Richard does to double-crossers, maybe mention that you heard about a terrible place that they go. A place where they don't die but wish they could because of what they did to us. Keep it vague. What people don't know about can be just as powerful as what they do. And this is how we made it. In 1930, we had a snitch problem. When you're in the business, as we are in, there are 2 kinds of people, a friend of ours and a friend of theirs. We tried to keep our friends local in the beginning and closely under our wing. The spirit was once easy to keep under a tight watch. In the old days, we only had each other. And even the lowest Fink wouldn't go to the Chicago PD because we didn't have enough to offer them. But once the 18th Amendment rolled around, everything changed. In less than 2 years, we went from a mostly local operation to a nationwide bootlegging empire. The money was rolling in, but so were the expenses. Bribes to cops and Canadian border guards, security to keep the Carrolls under close watch, and of course, employees. We started hiring out, working with the local competition when we needed to, not looking into our guys closely enough to make sure we could trust them. And when we opened the secret spirit, it finally came back to haunt us. What's the best way to keep the law from catching you? Keep them from remembering that you even exist. I don't know how the boss did it, but he managed to make a speakeasy that slips out of your mind without the password. Like, Joe sent me. But if Joe didn't actually send you, then you'd just be confused anytime you tried to remember where you were that night. The alcohol wasn't even that important. What was important was the trading room on the second floor. The finest magic toys from the farthest reaches of Wonderland for our carefully selected customers. For nearly a decade, there was no better place to get a drink and play God than the Secret Spirit. Then someone fucking snitched. Christmas, 1930. The Foundation shuts us down, kidnaps our patrons, and steals some of our best carols. The boss demanded to know how it happened, and it didn't take long to find out. Albert Jones from Queens, recruited by the Spirit in 1921 to run our first Manhattan operation. Previous history with the local gangs, and a reputation for efficiency and ruthlessness, and also cowardice. The little bastard got too drunk one night and broke into his ex's apartment and ratted all of us out so he could get a reduced sentence. Right then and there, the boss decided that nobody would ever be able to turn on us again without paying the price. A message needed to be sent, and the dungeons were the way to do that. About 2 months after the Secret Spirit shutdown, Richard Chappell walked into that abandoned hospital with an unholy priest and turned it into a place of nightmares. He won't tell anyone else how he did it, so don't ask. Our finest day came when we found Albert and locked him in the dungeon. He begged for mercy. We didn't give it. What we use it for? I'm sure you've all heard one of Richard's favorite sayings. You can search for us. You can compete with us. You can even attack us if you think you're up to it. But if you turn on us, we will not forgive and we will not forget. Damn right we don't. Carol 332 are the Snitch Dungeons. The building we use them for and the dungeons themselves. From the outside, it looks normal. And when you walk in, you don't notice anything out of the ordinary at first either. Lots of abandoned hospital equipment lying around that we haven't bothered to pick up. But all the doors to what used to be the bedrooms are closed, and behind each one of them is hell. Well, not exactly hell, but close enough to it that they can't tell the difference. When we find someone who turned on us, we have to say his name out loud and snap our fingers in front of this photo. And attached is a photograph of former hospital staff and some patients with a date written on the back, 1913. Let's see. Richard said the people in the photo show up in dungeons too. No need to find out. Interesting photograph. So anyway, the rest of this says, as soon as we do, he shows up in the foyer and we're on him before he has a chance to react. We grab him, throw him into one of the open rooms and shut the door behind him. That's where the hell begins. The walls begin to melt away, and the room gets bigger than all of New York. But no matter where they go, they can never get out. They'll always be in their own personal dungeon. We don't know exactly what happens to them in there, but we know they can't get out. And we know they scream so loud we had to soundproof the building. The only ones who know for sure are the boss and the priest, and they're not telling. I also have here a note at the end of the file. This is attached. It says, a note from the desk of Richard Chappell. A lot of people have been asking about what happens in the Snitch Dungeons. Frankly, none of you need to know or worry about it as long as you do your job and keep your mouth shut. But I'll indulge your curiosity briefly to keep you motivated. Remember the blind guy in that picture? Imagine if he could see and you couldn't. Now imagine if you trusted that guy to lead you around, help you to get to and fro, the works. Then one day he decides to push you into traffic for the fun of it. That's what goes on in the dungeons. Betrayal. The snitches know what they did, and they know the lesson they're being taught in there. They scream because as soon as it looks like the nightmare's over, it starts again. Know this. When you joined this organization, you gave more than just your life to us. You may think death is your ultimate respite when you decided you finally had enough, and it will be if we allow it. But if we falter or fail because of you, we can withdraw that privilege. The dungeons are your warning. I suggest you heed them. Okay, so at the end of this file, we'll have to study this one here pretty soon. The building itself is actually designated SCP-3855. Now, as all of you dumbasses might think that I have every SCP memorized, I don't, even though I have O5 clearance and I'm in charge of the briefings around here. But it seems that at the end of this file, the building that was the Chicago Secret Spirit is actually designated SCP-3855. We'll get to that at a later time, but for now, let's push on. Next is the transcript of an interview with SCP-638-B. Interviewer again, Agent Chad Pick. Begin log. Pick. Mr. Moody? SCP-638-B, yeah? Pick. Care to answer some questions for me? SCP-638-B. I ain't no rat, boy. Pick. I see. That's a pity. Your associates didn't have the same incorruptibility. SCP-638-B. What? What are you talking about? Pick. I have Bagel singing like a bird in the next cell over. I bet he was the smart one, right? Wise head? SCP-638-B. Yep. Pick. Then why don't you go on and follow his lead, huh? Don't be a patsy. Spill the beans. SCP-638-B. What you want to know? You said it yourself, gumshoe. Bagels and the boss planned it all out. I was just the Bruno, supposed to keep the bulls off us and the schmucks in line while we emptied the place. Pick. Sure, but I want to know how you got in. SCP-638-B. I already told you. Pick interrupts. You got two peepers, don't you? SCP-638-B. Well, yeah. Pick. Then tell me what they saw. Don't take the fall for their plan falling through. Cooperate and you'll get out of the can early. SCP-638-B. All right, it was the WAP. Parmesan, whatever. Pick. You mean Permonto? SCP-638-B. Parmesan, Permonto, whatever. He knew a Strega, all right? One of them witches the Mafia uses. The boss went over with him to have a chat with her and worked out a deal. Pick. What do you know about the deal? SCP-638-B. Jack shit. Big man keeps his affairs private. Good thing, too. I don't want one of that deal with the devil business, but at the end of it, she gave us a few little bottles of this hooch. Said if we drank it, everyone would think we were bank guards till we did something otherwise, like shooting at him. Pick. So you think the Italian knows more than he's letting on? SCP-638-B. They always do. It's why I never deal with the outfit, all right? Hinky little sharpers. They'll stab you in the back. Pick. It sounds like you have something personal against Mr. Fiore. SCP-638-B. Well, I worked with him before. Pick. Didn't go well? SCP-638-B. Take a fucking guess. We got pinched 2 miles outside the city. Then he starts chatting up the bull all polite like. Before I know it, he's pinned the whole thing on me. Fucking stool pigeon. Pick. So you don't trust him? SCP-638-B. Not as far as I can throw him. Actually, I think I could throw him in pretty damn far. Don't trust anything that comes out of his mouth. Pick. And Mr. Bernstein? SCP-638-B. Bagels might not be Italian, but he's a kike. He ain't much better. Coaster Nostra, just as sneaky. They're just quieter about it. He's a coward. Doesn't have the killer instinct you need to bump someone. He kept crowing about how he didn't want it to become a massacre. Pick. All right, that's noted. Oh, one more thing. Do you know anything about the current whereabouts of Richard Chappell? SCP-638-B. He was with us when we burned through the vault, and then as soon as the coppers were shooting their way in, gone poof, disappeared into thin air. No idea how he lammed off. He was surrounded. Pick. Well, what do you think happened? SCP-638-B. You want to know what I really think? He was never even there to start with. Pick. What? SCP-638-B. He's one of the most powerful people in the world. Why would he risk his body on a bank hit? Pick. Robbing the Federal Reserve is more than just a bank hit, don't you think? SCP-638-B. Even more reason to send your boys and save your own skin. You know what they say about Chappell? He's unnatural. Who's to say he can't magic himself someplace he ain't? Pick. Well, I'll keep it in mind. And let me guess, you got no idea where the gold is. SCP-638-B. Afraid not, gumshoe. But Bagel should. He was the one in the vault with the twins when it vanished. He could have stopped them, but he didn't. Means he was in on it. Pick. I see. Thank you for your time. SCP-638-B. Yeah? Well, fuck you. End log. Here's the interview with SCP-638-C. Interviewer again, Chad Pick. Begin log. Pick. Hello, Mr. Fiore. SCP-638-C. Hello, senor. Pick. You're very cheery for someone looking at decades in prison. SCP-638-C. Well, when you're in my business, you learn to look on the bright side of things. Plus, the can is never as bad as people say it is. Do your time, get out. You know what I mean. Pick. Well, then I'll make this quick. 3 questions. SCP-638-C. I can do 3 questions, certainly. Pick. What do you know about the deal Mr. Chappell made with the Striga? SCP-638-C. Pauses. So you know then. Pick. Yeah, I know. And I'd like to know more, which is why you're going to tell me. SCP-638-C. Okay, certainly I can do that. I don't know about what Senor Chappell gave the Striga in return. She usually works for the outfit, though, so it must have been generous compensation. Or knowing how the Senor works, sufficiently intimidating. But I know that getting her what she's required, that's the difficult part. She needed something from all the people we were disguising ourselves as, so we approached some of the guards and convinced them to part with their hair and blood. Pick. You know, it's a nice change of pace to find someone actually willing to answer the goddamn question. Next, do you know where the twins moved the gold? SCP-638-C. That I do not. Pick. Come on, help me out here. You got your whole life ahead of you. You really want to waste your time years in the big house? I'm sure helping us recover the bullion would lead to a very appreciative judge. SCP-638-C. I am not a trained thumbik like the twins are. My talents are elemental in nature, but... Pick. But what? SCP-638-C. I've learned the basic principles of magic. At its core, a spell is concentrated energy from the user, directed to affect mass. We were moving Lord knows how many tons of gold. Even 2 thommics are not enough to move that kind of mass that large a distance. I don't know where it is exactly, but it's somewhere in the city, probably closer to the reserve than farther. Pick. I understand. SCP-638-C. But spells are not just done on a whim. You need to plan, to know and see where you're sending something. This was pre-planned, I'm telling you. Pick. You think the twins double-crossed you? SCP-638-C. No. I think that the twins and Senor Chappell double-crossed all of us. He's an intelligent man. He probably plans to buy the brothers out of prison and make good on his deal. Pick. Then I gather you don't know where he actually is. SCP-638-C. No, I do not. But on the off chance that he has the money, that much money, he could do anything he pleased. But he's not a man I sense would be happy buying an island and never speaking to anyone again. The only thing he loves more than danger and vice is being in the know. And that kind of gold could get him as high in any organization as he wanted. My guess? Marshall Carter and Dark are about to get another partner in the business. Pick. A bold assumption. You've been more accommodating than your accomplices, I must admit. SCP-638-C. What can you expect from them? They're lying through their teeth all the time. Pick. And you're not? SCP-638-C. I have no reason to. I've never stayed in the big house for more than a few months. But Senor Bernstein is looking at a murder charge. Pick. Is he? SCP-638-C. He burned through the vault door without realizing there was a guard stationed on the other side. Little more than a pile of charred bones now. Tragic. Pick. He seemed adamant that he didn't kill anyone. SCP-638-C. And why would he tell a detective the truth? You see now why I have no loyalty to any of these buffoons? Pick. Touché. And what about Mr. Moody? SCP-638-C. What of him? Pick. Any insights into his honesty? SCP-638-C. If we're being honest, I don't know too much about Senor Moody. I've never seen him before this job, but he seems a simple button man. Too short-sighted to come up with a creative lie to save his own skin. Pick. Well, thank you for your honesty, Mr. Fiore. That's it. End of log. Next interview is with SCP-638-D and SCP-638-E. Interviewer, Agent Chad Pick. Begin log. Pick. Hello, gents. I'm not a sign language person, so Mr. Atom, you're going to have to interpret for me. SCP-638-E. Of course, don't worry, I'll do most of the talking. Pick. Right. So, fellas, let's get right down to brass tacks. Where is it? SCP-638-E. Where's what? Pick, don't jerk me around. Where's the goddamn gold? I know you two couldn't have moved it far. SCP-638-E. You seem tense, officer. Pick, what are you, my fucking doctor? SCP-638-E. Perhaps you have a personal stake in finding the bullion. Pick, and what kind of stake would that be? SCP-638-E. Does it matter? Chicago's a big place, officer. You'll never find it without us, and I think you know what we want. Pick, don't test me. I'm not here to make deals. SCP-638-D signs something. SCP-638-E. We are. Pick, watch that tongue, boy, unless you want yours cut out too. Right here, there is almost a full minute of audible silence, and Pick says, what is it? They both stare at each other. SCP-638-E. How did you know my brother's tongue was cut, Detective? Pick, Bagels told me. SCP-638-E. How considerate. SCP-638-D then raises 7 fingers. Pick, what does that mean? SCP-638-E. 7. The number of bottles were given. Would you like to parlay, officer? At this point, Detective Pick ordered the stenographer out of the interrogation room at once. The remainder of this interview remains untranscribed. End of log. Addendum 638-2, Abridged Historical Report. The day following the arrest of SCP-638, embedded agent Chad Pick failed to clock in at Precinct 17 of the Chicago Police Department. The following day, a concerned co-worker investigated his apartment, finding the door blown off its hinges. The interior of the apartment was wrecked, showing signs of a significant struggle. Blood was splattered across the ripped furniture and shredded wallpaper. Detective Pick's corpse was discovered stuffed into a closet and in an advanced state of decomposition, indicating he had been deceased for at least a week prior to the heist. Detective Pick's corpse was discovered stuffed into a closet and in an advanced state of decomposition, indicating he had been deceased for at least a week prior to the heist. Tufts of hair were missing from his scalp. Although he had sustained heavy internal trauma and beating, the cause of death was determined to be... After additional officers arrived on the scene, the bodies of SCP-638-D and SCP-638-E were discovered stuffed into a large garbage receptacle in an alley behind the building, wrapped in canvas. Causes of death were a single gunshot wound to the head apiece. It is unclear how or when either individual escaped the police precinct. Richard Davis Chappell remains at large. The spoils of the heist have never been recovered. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was SCP-638. You are dismissed. Oh, and send Corporal in here. I would really, really like to have a meeting with him and know why I wasn't handed all the materials when I started. Are you guys still here? Get out of here. I said